In this week's video, I'll be going over one of my favorite lenses in my kit, the Sony 24-70 GM2 f2.8. I bought this lens sometime in the middle of last year since I wanted a good mid-range zoom lens that I can use during my travels in 95% of the situations I may find myself in, including any landscape, street, portrait, any photography in low light, so on and so forth, you name it. And to put it simply, this lens has done exactly that and more, which is one of the reasons why I love this lens so much. There are of course other reasons why I love this lens so much and why I not only chose the 24-70 GM2 as my mid-range zoom lens, but also why I even got a mid-range zoom lens in the first place, which I'll be talking about in the next section. So starting off with a zoom lens and the basics of a zoom lens. So with the zoom lens, you get all the pros that typically come with the zoom lens. The ability to get a wide selection of focal lengths all within a single lens, and that's the reason why many people typically gravitate towards a zoom lens. For me personally, this ability to have a wide selection of focal lengths all within one lens, this really allows me to focus on capturing photos rather than focus on the lens that's currently on my camera. In relation to travel, this has been really helpful when I'm in a new city, when I might not be so familiar with the type of area that I'm in, the environment, what focal length might be best for which certain environment in the city. So with that, I actually learned that lesson when I first traveled to Seoul and I was switching lenses so much my first day there that I would basically carry my 16-35mm GM1. I also had my 55mm with me, my Zeiss 1.8, and also my 85mm Zeiss 1.8. So I had basically 3 lenses on me at all times. And because it was a new location, you can only imagine how many times I'd see a composition with my 16-35 on, just to switch to a 55 because that's what I saw and I wanted to capture that photo. And then I walk around again, only to have to change my lens back to a 16-35 because I saw something else that I wanted within that 28-35 focal length range. So yeah, never again. I'm never doing that again. Compared to when I returned to Seoul with my 24-70 GM2, let's just say that was a way better photography experience, and that allowed me to capture many images I love without any hassle of any sorts. I just walked around and enjoyed the city, focusing on the photography aspect rather than trying to figure out if I even had the correct lens on my camera to get what I wanted. But even if it's not a new environment, it's still great to use a zoom lens in familiar areas as well. I still capture shots I hadn't seen before during my time in Venice Beach and Santa Monica, and I go there all the time. It just overall beats having to change lenses multiple times in a shoot or wasting time thinking about which lens you want to bring to a shoot. You just take your one zoom lens and you go out the door ready for a day of photography. So now moving on to the next reason why I chose the 24-70 GM2 in particular, the weight. So I don't know if this is still the lightest 24-70 f2.8 lens out there for any system, but if it isn't, then it's damn near gotta be one of the lightest. Weighing in around 695 grams, it's roughly around the same weight as the Tamron 28-75 version 1 lens, which is considered super light for a mid-range zoom lens, and the Zeiss 35mm f2.8 lens, the lightest lens for the Sony E-mount. That's definitely a testament to how light the former lenses I mentioned are, but at 695 grams for a 24-70 f2.8 lens with G Master quality, you're really getting the best of both worlds in terms of not only travel friendly with its size and weight, but the quality of the pictures you're going to get with this lens. This next reason might be the most underrated reason why I like this lens so much, but because of all the scenarios this lens can cover, it's just so damn reliable. If it's raining outside, no worries, it's a weather-sealed lens. Limited space in my bag, I just take this lens and call it a day. It's not even that heavy and it's not that big. Want to go for a hike and then get some landscape shots for sunset, then grab dinner in the city, then after that do street photography at night, this lens can literally cover the entire scenario, which I had done plenty of times in Seoul. Almost any environment and any circumstances I can think of myself being in, this lens will cover at least 90-95% of those scenarios. Combine that with not only its premium build quality and fantastic quality of pictures taken with this lens, from the sharpness that rivals even prime lenses, to the great performance seen from the 24mm range all the way to the 70mm range, it's just a fantastic lens that will allow myself to take responsibility for incorrectly taken images. If an image comes out not how I want it to be, whether it's out of focus or a picture that's not as sharp as I'd like it to be, then I know for sure it's a me issue rather than a gear issue, which in itself is very reassuring. That lets me have the utmost confidence in my gear, which removes any room for doubt in my gear's ability to perform. The 24-70 GM2 at retail price is around $2,300, which is a shit ton of money. So if you can afford it, great. Good for you. I know you have a fantastic time with this lens and you'll definitely not be disappointed. But if you can't, then don't worry. This next section may be very helpful for you. If you aren't sure the Sony 24-70 GM2 f2.8 is right for you, Then here are some things to ask yourself along with the options in those cases. The first feature to really think about is the f2.8. If you know for sure you aren't going to be shooting in low light or need the f2.8 for any type of, portraiture shots or whatever you would imagine yourself using that f2.8 in, then you definitely don't need to be spending this much money for the 24-70 GM2. There are plenty of other gear options available. If you want to stick with Sony only, there is the Sony 20-70 f4G lens. You get fantastic image quality along with the bonus extra 4mm on the wide end, which may seem like a little, but trust me, it's a lot. The difference between 20mm and 24mm is a way bigger difference than on the telephoto side, such as 70mm and 75mm. This lens is also 200 grams lighter than the 24-70 GM2. I don't have the lens myself to compare the size of the 20-70 f4 to the 24-70 GM2, but you can clearly see in other YouTube videos and pictures on Google that the 20-70 is quite smaller in size. It's definitely a great option if you know you aren't going to be using the f2.8. The second feature to think about is the focal length range. If you find yourself not really using the longer end of the 24-70, then there are options for you as well. Sony recently released the Sony 24-50 f2.8G lens this year. You still get the f2.8 if you want to do any portraiture work so you can really separate your subject from the background, or if you want to do any low light stuff. It's also even smaller and lighter than the 20-70 f4 lens we just spoke about, so you know for sure it's way lighter than the 24-70 GM2. There's even a lens if you don't mind the weight of the 24-70 GM2, but you want more variety in terms of focal length for your travels, and you don't need the f2.8. Sony has a 24-105 f4G OSS lens. I actually had this lens before I moved on to the GM2, and it's a fantastic lens. Since it's an older lens as well, you can definitely get a pretty good price for it used, which is how I ended up trying it. Because of this focal length being 24-105, it really makes this a great all-in-one lens for a lot of people. These are also only the options within Sony as well. There are plenty of other options you can look at from the third-party vendors such as Tamron and Sigma. I encourage you to search and look at those options as well to see which lens fits best for you. All in all, I love the Sony 24-70 GM2 lens. It's helped make my life easier when traveling to new locations and even familiar locations. When traveling, I'm a pretty sporadic person. Of course, I like planning for shoots that involve the weather, landscapes, hikes, time of the day, etc. so I can give myself the best chance to get the pictures I want, especially in cities where I may have only a limited amount of time in. But there are some of those days as well where I suddenly just look up at the sky and I see the clouds, and I think it's going to be a great sunset, so I have to quickly think of something to get to the location and get the photo I want. Or even days when I'm walking around and I end up in places where I wasn't even planning to go to. In these situations, the GM2 has had my back and been there for me, and it's allowed me to travel exactly how I like to travel. Free. That wraps up today's video. I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or would like to share your experience with the 24-70 GM2, feel free to leave a comment down in the section below. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Later.